Hello, Namaskar. Welcome you to the SAAR Analysis. I am Chaman Naik and here's my take. What if the next battle for the India's economic future isn't fought in New Delhi but in villages? For the first time in India's fiscal history, thousands of rural government is no longer judged only by how much money they receive, by how much money they can guarantee on themselves. 18,175 crore is set to flow into Odisha's rural local bodies under 16th Finance Commission. But here's the catch. A growing share of that money will depend only on the performance. This isn't just about a policy change, it is a fundamental redefinition of how a relationship between Indian state, local governance and economic accountability takes place. Here's what evidence speaks about, and at the center of this reform lies a powerful idea. For decades, India's Panchayat, the world's largest network of grassroots democratic institutions, have relied heavily on the transfer from state and the central government, and new framework attempts to change that equation. Odisha is preparing to implement recommendations that encourage Gram Panchayat to expand their own source revenue, or it is termed as SAAR. Property taxes, professional taxes, user charges and improved revenue collection will increasingly determine the eligibility of the performance for the grants. The objective is clear: move local governments from dependency to fiscal responsibility. Now, supporters argue that this creates a stronger institution. Economics such as Ellen Ostrom, who studied how local communities manage the shared resources, consistently found that institutions become more resilient when local stakeholders have both responsibilities and financial ownership. But the critics sees the other side of the story too. Not every panchayat starts from the same economic base. A village with industries, commercial market and rising property value can expand revenue far more easily than the remote tribal and agrarian region. Now, if grants increasingly reward revenue generation, wealthier panchayat could become stronger while the poorer one will fall further behind. Well, in other words, if efficiency could unintentionally compete with equity. Now the question arises why this matters. Well, this implication extends far beyond Odisha, across the world, from the Brazil's municipalities to the German federal state and America's counties. The balance between fiscal autonomy and equal development remains one of the public finance greatest challenges. India is now testing its own version of that balance. Success could create more accountable local government, reduce long-term dependence on the higher government, and improve the public service delivery. Now, failure could deepen the regional disparities inside the rural India itself. This makes Odisha an important case study not for the Indian federalism, but for the policy makers globally studying decentralized governance. Now, here's my take. This reform should not be viewed simply as a taxation story. It is a governance story. Fiscal discipline undoubtedly creates accountability, but accountability with equal opportunity can widen inequality also. The real measures of the success will not be how much revenue panchayat collect. The read will be whether India's poorest village receive the institutional capacity, digital tools and economic opportunity needed to compete on the equal terms, because sustainable centralization requires both responsibilities and fairness. Odisha's fiscal reset is far more administrative reform. It is an experiment in redefining the relationship between citizen, local government and Indian state. If this model succeeds, it could reshape the world's largest democracy finance development from the ground up. Now, if it doesn't, it will remain as a policy maker everywhere that decentralization is not simply about transferring power, it is about transferring the capability. That's all from today's analysis. I will be back with another episode. Till then, thank you for watching this.